The notification arrived while we were having dinner. My 13-year-old daughter, Celia, stared at her phone while tears formed in her eyes. My son, Marshall, barely 10, looked confused as he read over her shoulder. "Mom," Celia whispered with a trembling voice, "look at what Cousin Grady posted." I took the phone and felt my stomach sink. There was a photo of our family car, an old sedan parked in front of my sister's house during our visit last week. The text read, "Look at these poor kids living for free in our mansion. My aunt's family can't even pay for their own place. Meanwhile, here we are supporting charity cases." The post already had 47 reactions and dozens of comments from Grady's friends. Most were laughing emojis. Some added cruel remarks about our clothes, our car, and our apparent poverty. My sister Daphne lived in a beautiful colonial-style house in the hills. It had 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a pool, and professionally designed gardens. Grady, her 17-year-old son, had always been spoiled, but this was a new level of cruelty. "Why would he say that?" Marshall asked, his lower lip trembling. "We don't live there. We only went to visit." "I know, my love," I said softly, putting down my fork. My hands were steady. Inside, I was calculating. Celia wiped her tears. "Everyone at school is going to see this. His friends go to my school." I smiled gently at my children. "Finish dinner. I need to make a call." I walked to my home study and closed the door. Then I opened my computer and logged into my online banking. The screen showed several automatic payments scheduled for the 15th of every month. I had been watching those numbers leave my account like clockwork for 7 years. Mortgage payment, $80,000. Monthly property tax fund, $6,000. Home insurance, $2,500. Pool maintenance service, $1,800. Gardening and landscaping service, $2,200. I picked up my phone and dialed the bank's 24-hour service line. "This is the account holder, Lillian. I need to cancel several automatic payments." The representative confirmed my identity and opened my account. "Which payments would you like to cancel?" "All payments associated with the property at 847 Grandview Street in the Hills, effective immediately." "Let me verify. That includes the mortgage payment, the monthly property tax fund, and the home insurance. These cancellations will take effect in the next billing cycle. The payment scheduled for tomorrow will still be processed." "That is fine," I said. "Cancel everything after that." "May I ask the reason for the cancellation? If you are going through financial difficulty, we have programs that could help." "It is not a difficulty," I replied. "The arrangement is over." When I hung up, I called the pool service and the gardening company and canceled those contracts as well. Then I sat in the silence of my study and waited. My phone rang 18 minutes later. Daphne's name appeared on the screen. "Lillian, what the hell did you just do?" Her voice was high-pitched and panicked. "The bank just called me. They said the mortgage payment was canceled. They said you canceled it." "That is correct," I said calmly. "What do you mean that is correct?" "You cannot cancel my mortgage payment. This is my house." "Is it?" I asked. "Daphne, what payments do you make for that house?" There was silence on the other end. Then, "That doesn't concern you. I don't know what kind of sick joke this is, but fix it now." "I will happily explain everything," I said. "Why don't you come over? Bring Grady. I think it is time we had a conversation about who lives for free in whose mansion." She hung up on me. 35 minutes later, her Mercedes pulled into my driveway with such force that it left tire marks. Daphne stormed through the front door without knocking, furious. Grady followed behind, annoyed at being dragged along. My children had finished dinner and were doing homework in their rooms, exactly where I wanted them for this conversation. "Explain yourself," Daphne demanded. "Right now." I was sitting at the dining table with a folder in front of me. I pointed to the chairs on the other side. "Sit down." "I don't want to sit. I want to know why you are sabotaging my life." "Sabotaging?" I opened the folder and pulled out the first document. "This is the original mortgage statement from when you bought the house 7 years ago. Do you remember that purchase?" Daphne's face turned red. "Of course I remember. Bennett and I bought it together before he left. Before he left you in ruins, I corrected. Before he emptied your accounts and disappeared with his secretary. Before you called me crying because the bank was about to start foreclosure. Grady's eyes widened a little. This was clearly not a story he had heard. I pulled out the next document. This is the restructuring agreement you signed, the one that made the bank accept restructuring your debt. Do you remember what made them accept it? Daphne's jaw tightened. We reached an arrangement. Yes, I said. You, me, and the bank. Because I agreed to take over the mortgage payments while you stayed in the house. You were devastated, Daphne. You had just been abandoned. You had a 10-year-old son. You needed stability. I spread 7 years of bank statements on the table, each marked to show the monthly transfers. $80,000 every month for 84 months. That is $6,120,000, plus property tax, insurance, pool maintenance, and gardening. Do you want to know the total? Daphne stared at the papers, pale. $7,770,000, I said. That is what I have paid in 7 years to keep you in that house, to give Grady stability and to help you rebuild yourself after Bennett destroyed you financially. Grady looked at his mom. Mom, is this true? It was a loan, Daphne said weakly, a family loan. Lillian was helping temporarily. Ah, yes. I pulled out another document. Because I don't have any paper that says it was a loan. There is no promissory note, no payment schedule, no interest rate, nothing. Just me paying your bills month after month while you told everyone that house was yours without owing anyone. You said it was fine, Daphne protested. You said you wanted to help. Yes, I wanted to help, I said. And I kept wanting to help when you bought the new Mercedes last year. I kept wanting to help when Grady was given a BMW for his 16th birthday. I kept wanting to help when you remodeled the kitchen with granite countertops and custom cabinets. Grady's face was turning red, not from anger, but from shame. I never asked you to explain where the money came from, I continued. I never told anyone that I was supporting you. I let you keep your dignity. I let Grady think his mom was successful and independent. I let you maintain your image in your fancy neighborhood. Then why are you doing this now? Daphne's voice cracked. Why destroy it all? I took out my phone and showed her Grady's post. Because your son just publicly humiliated my children. He called them poor. He said they were living for free thanks to your generosity. He painted them as charity cases. Grady's eyes widened when he saw the screen. I thought, you thought what? I asked quietly. That you were rich and we were poor? That your mom's house made you better than my children? Sorry, Grady stammered. I'll delete it. I apologize. You will, I said. But that is not why I canceled the payments. I canceled them because this arrangement has lasted too long. 7 years is more than enough for your mom to have gotten back on her feet. Daphne's hands were trembling. Lillian, please, I can't pay the mortgage alone. My salary barely covers the other expenses. If you stop paying, I will lose the house. Then I suggest you figure it out, I said calmly. Sell it. Move to something smaller. Get a second job. Do what millions of single mothers do when they can't afford their lifestyle. You can't do this to us, Daphne said desperately. We are family. Family, I repeated. Yes, Daphne, we are. That is why it hurts so much to see my nephew mock my children on the internet, to see him call them poor while he lives in a house I pay for, to see him drive a car that I essentially bought while he makes fun of our old sedan. I pulled out one more document. This is the deed to your house. Did you know that when the bank restructured your loan, part of the agreement was that I would be registered as a co-owner? I have a 50% share based on my contributions. The bank demanded it to protect their interests. Daphne's face went completely white. What? You signed it 7 years ago. Surely you didn't read the fine print. You were too desperate to keep the house. I slid the document across the table. That means I don't just pay the loan, I am also a co-owner of the property. Grady looked like he was going to vomit. This is what is going to happen, I said, my voice still calm and even. Grady is going to delete that post right now. He is going to post a public apology explaining that he was completely wrong and is ashamed of his behavior. He is going to apologize personally to Celia and Marshall. Grady nodded frantically, already taking out his phone. Then you and I are going to have a very serious conversation about the future. Either you start paying the mortgage yourself, or we sell the house and split the money according to our shares, or you buy my part at market value. I can't pay for any of those options, Daphne whispered. Then you will have to find a way, I said, because I am no longer going to subsidize a lifestyle that made my nephew believe he could humiliate my children. Daphne's eyes filled with tears. Lillian, please, I beg you, give me time to arrange something. You have had 7 years, I replied. How much more time do you need? Grady's fingers flew over the screen. In seconds, the original post disappeared. Then a new one appeared. I need to apologize for a horrible post I made earlier. I was completely wrong and disrespectful. I am ashamed of what I said and deeply regret hurting my aunt and my cousins. I had no right to judge anyone, especially when I didn't know the full situation. I am truly sorry. There it is, Grady said quietly. Good, I said. Now you are going to send messages to Celia and Marshall with personal, sincere apologies. He nodded and leaned over the phone again. I looked at Daphne. You have until the end of the month to come up with a plan. Either you start paying the full mortgage yourself, or we put the house up for sale. Those are your 2 options. And if I can't? Daphne asked, her voice harsh. Then the bank will start foreclosure and neither of us will get anything back, I said. But at least I will stop paying $80,000 a month for the privilege of having my children mocked. Daphne stood up slowly, her legs shaking. I never knew you were so cold. I am not cold, I replied. I am a mother protecting her children. Something you might understand if you had taught your son basic decency instead of letting him believe he was superior to everyone. Grady was crying now, silent tears running down his face as he typed. Part of me felt bad for him. He was 17. He was spoiled and ignorant, but he wasn't entirely to blame for his mom's lies. Grady, I said in a softer tone, you aren't a bad kid, but you have lived in a fantasy where your mom's house made you special. It didn't make you special. It made you lucky to have an aunt willing to sacrifice for you. Learn from this. He nodded without looking up from the phone. Daphne walked to the door and then turned around. You are going to regret this, Lillian. Family doesn't do this to family. You are right, I said. Family doesn't do this to family, nor do they allow their children to bully their cousins on the internet, nor do they pretend to own houses they can't pay for, nor do they take advantage of their sister's generosity for 7 years without even saying thank you. I did say thank you, Daphne protested weakly. Once, I said, 7 years ago. Then you started acting like you had earned everything yourself, as if I didn't exist, as if my 7,000 on 70,000 didn't matter. Daphne left without saying another word. Grady followed closely, his eyes glued to his phone as he wrote his apologies. When they were gone, I stayed alone at the dining table, looking at the documents spread out. My hands were steady, my breathing was calm. But inside, I felt the weight of 7 years lifting from my shoulders. Celia appeared at the door. Mom, is everything okay? Come here, my love, I said, opening my arms. She came over and sat next to me. Marshall arrived a moment later. Both looked worried. Grady messaged us, Celia said quietly. He apologized. He said he was really sorry and that he was wrong about everything. Good, I said. He should be. Mom, Marshall asked cautiously, do you really pay for Aunt Daphne's house? I had never wanted them to know. I had never wanted them to think their mom was naive or that I had been taken advantage of. But now they deserved the truth. Yes, I said bluntly. I did for a long time, but not anymore. Why did you do it? Celia asked. Because 7 years ago your aunt needed help and I could give it to her, I explained. I don't regret helping her. I regret that she never valued it enough to teach Grady humility. Are we really poor? Marshall asked quietly. like Grady said? I looked at my children in our modest but comfortable home, with clean clothes, homework done, and full bellies. I thought about the $80,000 a month that would return to my budget. Money for their education, money for family vacations, money for things I had sacrificed to keep Daphne in her mansion. No, my love, I said firmly. We are not poor. We are careful with money. There is a big difference. And more importantly, we are kind. We don't judge people by their houses or their cars. That makes us richer than any mansion. Celia hugged me tight. I'm glad you're my mom. Me too, added Marshall, climbing onto my lap. Although he was too big for that, I hugged them and felt peace settle over me. The next morning, the process of selling Daphne's house or negotiating for her to buy my share would begin. It wouldn't be easy. There would be more confrontations and perhaps lawyers involved. But that night, sitting with my children in our modest house, knowing they understood that their worth had nothing to do with square footage or deeds, I felt like the richest person in the world. And somewhere in the hills, in a 5-bedroom, colonial-style house she could never afford on her own, my sister was finally learning what things actually cost.